Hello students, once again I welcome you all. In the previous class, we started a discussion on Girish Karnad as a dramatist. Hope you remember that we completed a couple of points in this respect. I talked in detail about Girish Karnad as a versatile genius, the ways in which Karnad became a dramatist, the influences on Girish Karnad, and later on, I talked on a couple of topics or the couple of points like existentialism and Girish Karnad as a great historical dramatist. Friends, now there are a few more points to be discussed in this respect, and they are structure, plot, characterization, language, fiction, symbolism, idioms, and phrases. So these are the topics that we are going to cover under the consideration of Girish Karnad as a dramatist. So friends, let us look at this particular point for further study now. That is the structure and plot construction of the plays of Girish Karnad. But while talking about it, my special focus will be on Girish Karnad's Tughlaq. So as you know, Tughlaq is a historical play that has 13 scenes. If you see the structural division of the play, you will find that there are 13 scenes in all total. Generally, a full-length drama or full-length play is divided into acts, and then the acts are divided into scenes. But so far, Tughlaq is concerned, it has 13 different scenes as such. And I think Girish Karnad has deliberately written this particular play in the convention of company natak. If you remember, earlier we have discussed about company natak tradition, which was a very strong tradition in the state of Karnataka. And here we could see the influence of this company natak on the writings of Girish Karnad. In the company natak, all scenes are divided and alternated into two types of scenes. Number one, deep scenes. Number two, shallow scenes. What do you mean by the shallow scenes? Shallow scenes are meant for creating some hilarious moments or a kind of comedy on the stage. And usually, these shallow scenes are the street scenes only. So throughout the play, you will come across several shallow scenes like this, when you find the gathering of the people or many number of characters are found on the stage, and mostly the characters like Aziz and Azam, they create some or the other comic scenes over there. But when it comes to the another type of scenes are concerned, that you call deep scenes, they were mainly prepared for a garden, palace, dance, or the major action of the play. Whenever you find the action played by the major characters in the play, like Muhammad bin Tughlaq or any other major character over here, you will find that they are projected in the deep scenes only. Either they are in a garden, they are in a palace, or one of the rooms of the palace, or they are involved in the dance, or else Tughlaq is playing chess, something like that. So if you interpret this in the critical point of view, you will realize that it is the degeneration of Shakespearean kind of playwriting. Why do I say so? Because William Shakespeare has already tried his hand making different types of scenes, creating them for his own effectivity as such. And probably Girish Karnad has also attempted the similar kind of thing in his own plays. So the characters that you find in such kind of plays, they are divided into those scenes. And of course, their involvement, their action, that also is a kind of add-on kind of thing in the structural point of view. So the characters are divided into those which come into shallow scenes and deep scenes. So whenever shallow scenes are being presented on the stage, the preparation for the deep scene is going on in the background. And when the deep scenes are being performed by the characters, the preparation for the shallow scenes is being done on the stage. So this sort of shallow scenes and deep scenes is a kind of company natak tradition, and which was deliberately adopted by Girish Karnad in this play. So now I would like to talk on the characterization, because when it comes to the structure and the plot construction of the play, this is all promoted very effectively only with the legible handling of the characterization of the play. So here you have the characterization. If you see minutely, Girish Karnad employs the devices like dialogues, contrast, parallelism, or the irony for character delineation. So when you talk in particular about Tughlaq, Tughlaq is portrayed with great psychological truth and depth. Why do I say so? When you get into the details of the play, and when you study all these 13 scenes in the play, you will realize that you can interpret Tughlaq based on the psychoanalytical theory. The theory of Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and other practitioners of psychoanalytical study. So Tughlaq himself, when you want to study this play in the psychological point of view, you will realize, or you will be able to understand the character of Muhammad bin Tughlaq from his speeches. Various speeches are delivered by Tughlaq in the play. So if at all you want to understand the characterization of Muhammad bin Tughlaq in the play, and here the character himself reveals his idealism, scholarship, secularism, and the other perspectives of life through the various speeches that he delivered. Because it is very difficult to get into the psychology of an individual. You can perceive something, you can understand something from such kind of complex character like Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So you can perceive him, or you can understand him only from the ideals that he has set in his life. One more thing, that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was an intellectual, no doubt about it. He has introduced several policies in his tenure, and he is trying to create the image that he is not a very orthodox fundamentalist or a kind of religious person, but he is trying to project himself as if he is a secular person. So all these things can be revealed only from the speeches which are delivered by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. When his idealism and administrative reforms, when you are trying to study this character in the psychoanalytical point of view, you will realize that there are several phases in the life of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Of course, he had his own idealism, his own secular perspective to life. And when he was trying to put his idealism into practice and introducing certain administrative reforms, but unfortunately, he experiences a complete failure on the administrative front. So whenever he introduced his idealism or the secular reforms by the means of administrative reforms, he experienced failure that leads him to frustration, and you realize that because of the frustration and the failure in his own exercise of power and authority, we could notice the psychological change that comes in the character of Muhammad bin Tughlaq over the period of time. One more important aspect you come to know about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, because he is a character of contradictions. You find him noble, immediately you find him in the bloodshed. You will find him in a very idealistic mood, immediately you will find him totally distorted, frustrated, and disillusioned. Because throughout the play, we have seen this character performing on different fronts. He is facing some challenges in his personal life, the problems created by the members of his family. Similarly, the problems created by the rivals in politics and some of the rebels in his own regime. So there are several issues that he was facing at the same time. So the murders, bloodshed, frustration, disillusionment, all these are the integral parts of this personality, I would say. And that is why this character has become a complex character. One more critical aspect I would like to talk in the respect of Muhammad bin Tughlaq and the kind of characterization developed by Girish Karnad over here. You have a couple of characters there. One is the historian, scholarly historian Barani, and another is a shrewd politician Najib. This Barani and Najib actually represent the two opposites of Tughlaq. Did you get it? Two opposites of Tughlaq. So when I will teach you the text of the play, that time you will come to know how these two characters, one the Barani, other the Najib, how they are representing Muhammad bin Tughlaq as if they are working on two different parallel fronts and creating a kind of contradiction in the course of time. And there are two more important characters also. One the Aziz and other the Azam. In the historical point of view, you don't find any relevance of Aziz and Azam. They are the creations of the artistic sense of Girish Karnad. And I think Girish Karnad has very effectively created these two characters here. And that also we need to study in the course of this particular play. So this is how we can, in general, talk about the craftsmanship of Girish Karnad as far as the plot construction, structure, and characterization of the play is concerned. Then you have another important aspect of his being as a great dramatist, that is language and the fiction that he created in the play. As you know, and in the introduction also I told you, Girish Karnad was a Rhodes scholar at Oxford University, UK. And of course, when he was there in UK for a long period of time, that too in the Oxford University, he developed his English in such a way and had a great command over English. So that great command could be seen in the language and diction of Girish Karnad's plays, all plays, not only Tughlaq. Even you go through Yayati, Hayavadana, Nagamandala, or even the present one, that is Tughlaq. If you see his selection of words, he is so particular, very choosy, very apt and appropriate while selecting the words and placing them into the various characters or into the tongue of the various characters. How is it possible actually? It was really possible to Girish Karnad only because of the rich treasure of vocabulary that Girish Karnad had. All the words that he used or the vocabulary that he used is very suggestive, and that reveals both the character and situation. See, it is very difficult for an artist, for a literary artist, to place certain words into the mouth of the characters, and that is not only revealing the character and the characterization, but that is also giving exposure to the situation created in the play. And that kind of craftsmanship is developed by Girish Karnad, and that could be minutely observed in the plays of Girish Karnad. Just go beyond that. Whenever you talk about the language and diction of Girish Karnad as such, while writing dialogues, the language adopted by Girish Karnad is very lucid, simple, and always pointing and precise. So I think it is very difficult to be so. You are simple, lucid, straightforward, pointing and hitting the right thing at the right time with the right word, and you are maintaining the preciseness of expression. And that has actually created a different decorum to the dialogues which are written by Girish Karnad. When you talk about the dialogue writing of Girish Karnad, I would like to use a few words in this respect, a few adjectives in this respect, like the dialogues are crisp, precise, and they are full of dramatic verse. So this is how very effectively Girish Karnad has used language and diction in his plays. Then you have one more important feature of the writings of Girish Karnad as a great dramatist, and that is nothing but symbolism. Of course, something is projected or presented, but that has some hidden meaning behind it. And here, Girish Karnad's symbolism is really as effective as his language is. Because in the previous expression you studied, that Girish Karnad had a great command over English language. Similarly, he had a very good control over the usage of symbolism in his plays. If you go through Tughlaq, you will find that Muhammad bin Tughlaq plays chess. And of course, you have different pawns, king, queen, and other, pawns in the game of chess. And every body has its own identity. And here in the play, chess is a symbol for intrigues in the Tughlaq's nature. Whenever he is playing with a chessboard and either moving forward or backward his own pawns or other, important, like horse, or you have elephant or a camel, or even the queen, playing with all these, he has something in mind first. And when he is playing with the pawns and killing the pawns, it is nothing but the assassinations of his political rivals. So the political opponents are symbolically presented in the play in the form of the pawns of the game of chess. Similarly, you have Python that suggests Tughlaq's barbarity and inhumanity. In some of his speeches, he reveals that he kills his own mother, father, brother, and other blood relatives also. That indicates that for his political achievements, he can take any step in his life, and he has taken. Similarly, you have other aspects also, like the vultures, which are always with him, and that pierce their beaks into his flesh, are the symbols of his noble ideals, but frustrated in the course of time, and consequently his spirit knows no peace of mind at all. See the developments here. All these three stages I have explained in one word. How's that? Initially, he is portrayed as a person having ideals in life, lots and lots of idealism he talks about. Later on, he is trying to put forward his own idealism into action by the means of administrative reforms. But unfortunately, all these administrative reforms are really making him frustrated. This frustration leads to disillusionment, and that disillusionment is basically the reason for the loss of peace of mind, that of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. But all these things are very effectively presented by Girish Karnad by the means of various symbols that he used in the play. So that is symbolism in the plays of Girish Karnad. Now I will switch over to the next important point, that is the last feature of his being as a great dramatist. That is the use of idioms and phrases. Already I told you, Girish Karnad's style is very simple, straightforward, and idiomatic. As far as use of words is concerned, already I said, he had a great command over English language and having a treasure of vocabulary. But in between, if you see in the text of the play, you will realize that he also exercised a free hand while using some of the Indian and Arabic words in the play. In order to create that effectivity and the development of the characterization, he used it. You have the words like Sultan, Jizya, Dhobi, Darbare Khas, etc., which are very effectively inducted by Girish Karnad in the tongue of various characters. Similarly, he used some of the idioms and phrases also, and they are numerously used or excessively used by Girish Karnad. To tell you a few examples in this respect, you have The idioms and phrases, for example, light up our path, went wild, hold your tongue, to breathe life into, play the game, torn into pieces, backbone of rebels, an incompetent fool, crush into dust, mugs game, etc., etc. There are so many. So it indicates that Girish Karnad was so particular as far as the use of language is concerned. And that has really made him a great dramatist. Now, to conclude, I would like to just, brush up a few more things in this respect, and then I will try to conclude this particular topic. If you go through the play or the plays of Girish Karnad, you will find that plot, characters, setting, style, and language, all these 5 elements contribute immensely to create the unity of effect in the play. Probably you might have heard the 3 unities, classical unities: the unity of time, place, and action. But probably you are going to listen to this kind of word here, the unity of effect. And why I'm using this particular term here? Because when I studied Girish Karnad as a dramatist and went through some of his plays, I realized that he was very effectively creating plot, characters, setting, style, and language. And all these 5 elements are really contributing for the effectivity of the play. And that's why I'm making this statement here, that the plot, characters, setting, style, and language immensely contribute to create the unity of effect in the plays of Girish Karnad. And this really makes Girish Karnad as one of the greatest dramatists writing in English, and that too basically belonging to our soil, that is Indian soil. He has a knack to transform any situation into aesthetic experience of a work of art. His dramatic technique is really very conspicuous for its excellence, and when he is trying to reveal that excellence by the means of his writings, that really establishes him as a man of tremendous talent and the work of art that he is exercising in the field of literary creations. And this is all about Girish Karnad as a literary figure, more particularly as a great dramatist or a playwright. And that's all from my end as far as this topic is concerned. That is Girish Karnad as a great dramatist. Thank you very much.